I'm on too,
yeah.
right? Attention, everybody. The views expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. So without any further ado... And here we go. Good morning! Coming to you live from Acts Media Group headquarters here in the beautiful Springfield, Missouri. It's the Morning Drive with Matt and Jay with your hosts, Matt and Jay. Of course, Tandem Man is in the studio with us today. Welcome to the show, son.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Good morning,
How you doing?
everybody.
How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning.
Praise alert.
Morning.
Hallelujah.
My brain got a jump start this morning. That's exciting.
Yeah, it did always. I'm going to have to get up here in a second and go get my coffee out of the microwave.
You know, I actually woke up like at 3:30, not able to get to sleep for a while, and then I went to sleep again at like 4:30. It was interesting. I was just wide awake, just like get up at 3:30, and I was checking out some of the. Are we able to say people's names on here?
Well, hold on just a second. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Morning Drive with Matt and Jay. My name is Matt.
My name is Jay.
My name is Tanner.
Glad to have everybody on board with us today. We can't use last names.
It's not a personal. It's actually public figure.
Public figure.
I think that's that's okay.
That's
Otherwise-
okay, as long as we don't like talk smack on them or whatever.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that I was watching. Jay was talking about Sam Harris yesterday, and I was watching some of his stuff. Interested in seeing that because I haven't followed honestly the atheist philosophy or the head sort of atheist philosophers for a while.
Because they're very logical and reasoning
Right.
and all that stuff. But it seems to me
Good morning, Larry Milton.
there's always something missing, that they always get to that point where they just can't cross that line. And that's why I think that most of these most thoughtful and successful atheists have a resentment towards God from their past. And that's why they get to that line where the only logical conclusion is some faith in some God. That's the only logical conclusion. And it being logical, reasonable, intelligent people, I watch them bring themselves to that precipice.
No wonder this thing is running so slow.
They can't cross that line that they just logically and reasonably brought themselves to.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they can't cross it. The only assumption I can make is that for some reason they have some resentment or anxiety, like maybe what God do you choose?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they get to that point where they're like, well, it's like...
Man, I've got 77 potentially unwanted programs so far on this scan that I've done.
Yeah.
And they're all cookies probably downloaded from sites that I've looked up like this, that, or the other. I don't want any of this stuff on here.
Yep.
Right.
And so I'm going to continue to scan it, and I'll keep you guys posted on how it's going, because I noticed the computer had been running slow. Well, this thing should not be slow. This is like top of the line, super fast gaming laptop. It shouldn't be slow.
Right.
Good morning, Steve Schultz. Good morning, Larry Melton. Good morning, Dr. Paul Collins. He's advertising for his show at 9:30. But anyways, I'm going to go real quick and grab my coffee out of the microwave.
Excellent.
Nice.
So you two,
Nice.
yeah,
Just have
Chat it up.
like a minute of dead air.
try to keep it
yeah.
civil.
You know, and I'm a centrist too, so I don't ascribe to a political party. So and there's a reason why it is, in my opinion, good to ascribe to a political party, especially when you have faith and believe in God, or in the Christian God, the God of Israel, is that see, to me the whole thing together is a very good mirror image of an individual as they stand alone. You know, I mean, so like when you talk about some things that we as Christians and religious people believe that God has told us we should and should not do, or can and cannot do, that are punishable by law,
Yeah.
according to God's law, not man's law.
Right.
That the feelings we have when we try to take on God's own character and be like Christ, the tendency, because we're imperfect humans, is to have a hostility towards it.
Yep.
And that rejects those people. And so, there's so many different people in the world who have thoughts and ideas and have developed them, and it's become part of their principal core beliefs.
Yep.
and their lifestyles, who, for lack of a better word, are in the closet.
Yeah.
Right? But we as Christians are to reach those people, not to push them into a closet. You know, we can't talk to somebody about an issue and teach them, or at least try to convince them that some of the principal beliefs and lifestyles they're living are part of the problem that they're having.
Yeah.
You know, that we don't have that opportunity to do that in love. You know? So it's kind of an image of what the far left is. You know what I mean? To the far right. Is that there's this gap in between. But then we have both of those principles. We want to reach the lost, but and I don't mean left and right there, but I mean we want to reach the lost. We've been saved by grace. And then there's this assumption of the gap in the middle that divides us, and that you have to have that gap in the middle. You know, and I'm not saying that we should be in, you know, participating in things that we know are ungodly. But there should be a way that we can represent ourselves in truth as Christians, rather than the perception that the public has about what a Christian is, which is this dogmatic, you in the face, you did this, when in fact most of us are on our knees at home pointing at ourselves.
Right.
Because we're sinners.
It has to be in love.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've learned a lot of things about that just because, I mean, you can imagine being from
He will
southern
be here at
Missouri,
8:30, Kara.
being from southern Missouri and
Morning, Robin,
living up
Katie.
in KC is a little.
I don't have any idea what that's like. Well, I come from the Northeast, so I know what a high populous area is like to live in.
Well,
I
yeah,
was
but
also
the
very
politics
young.
are so different between where I used to live versus where I live now. But the thing is, that's really good about that is it exposes me to
Morning,
a lot
Becky
more.
Code.
Yeah.
Because I mean, of course, I did this all throughout the course of my childhood. I've lived in both places, right? So, like, I've had a lot of influence from both places.
Yeah.
But my family's tendency was always towards more conservative values.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of things that I've seen, I've been able to look at more objectively because, of course, my family coming and being very conservative, and then having friends that are a lot of the times very far left is extremely, I mean, it forces you to understand people on a deeper level. It forces you to think about things in a different way than before, which is why, honestly, I myself am not like die hard to this party or die hard to this party. I mean, I will be voting in the next election, but I'm not going to be like, my personal philosophy will determine how I vote, not my party. And I'm not going to fight for somebody just because they're Republican or fight for somebody just because they're Libertarian or Democrat. I will fight for them because I believe what they believe.
Yeah.
And if I don't believe what they believe, or I believe they've committed a massive injustice, I will not support them.
Yeah. My problem with politics and commercialism and all these things is that they've used psychology to formulate systems, or what would you call them? Systems, or anyways, to formulate these systems that I can take. So I can take a subject and then use seemingly related ideas to bring you down a path that would cement you into that opinion.
Yep.
But the problem with that, and they use a formula to do it. There's an actual formula and a way to do it that guides you along so quickly that before you know it, you're cemented and stuck into this opinion without
Morning, Jim Whining.
the ability or without the will to consider other perspectives. And I think that's what it is. A lot of it is about perspective. So if I can lead you down a path that only has a specific perspective, then you reject any other perspective, right? And you come to a logical conclusion based on that one perspective. So I can guide you into an opinion by giving you my perspective as long as you're willing to listen to me. But I think that those formulas of speech are good because I can give you my perspective.
Right.
And you can hear me and gain a perspective that you may not have had.
Yes.
But I think the problem is when we start to bring in ridicule and humiliation as tactics
In order
to prevent somebody from seeing any other perspective.
Yeah.
And then once you're locked into that narrow corridor of that very specific perspective, and you use ridicule and humiliation and even threat of some kind of retaliation
Yeah.
for even considering another perspective, I think that's where those kinds of communication systems and formulas go wrong.
Well, a lot of the problem is politics have, in a lot of ways, as secular humanism has grown in America, have become our new religion,
Yeah.
which is dangerous because now all of a sudden the people on the other side of the aisle are your enemy who were once your brothers, you know?
Yeah.
And it's got a very much division like we had around, a long time ago, just around 100 years ago, whenever and the nation was so divided, we forgot that we were even related.
Yeah.
That we forgot we
You're
were
talking
even,
about the Civil War.
yeah, exactly. We forgot we were even family, and there was a lot of underlying philosophy. Obviously, we don't agree with the underlying philosophy that the
Most things are more complicated and involve more perspectives from more people
Than
than
what
we
peop-
realize.
exactly right.
And in order to unite people and bring them together in a way that they can be a force
Right.
for a cause, you have to use multiple perspectives and then find a way to bring them into the one perspective.
Larry Melton says the day of judgment is going to be a sad day for a lot of people. That's true.
Yeah.
Now, I was looking up our scripture of the day.
Yes.
Scripture of the day, Psalm 103, verses 1 and 2. A psalm of David. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits.
Amen.
And
Mic drop.
here's another thing is people are like we talk about a lot about this like common mind sharing a common unifying perspective, and we wonder why a lot of the times it falls away is because
Morning, Jessica Thomas.
it's because we don't build it on a solid ground.
Yeah.
And there's only one solid ground, and that's Christ, and people don't want to take that. People don't like that answer. That doesn't mean we
I
can't
believe that's
live.
the one right
Exactly.
solid ground.
That is true, because people will say that there's multiple ways, but that's not true either.
Right.
And the issue is people don't want to accept that. Now, obviously, you can coexist, not as in there's multiple ways, but coexist as in peacefully
Yeah.
with people that disagree with you. But that requires respect.
Yeah.
And respect is something that you can't have whenever your religion is politics, because politics is just so disrespectful.
Right.
Politics is arguing. Can you imagine?
What?
Can you imagine trying to build a system of respect on a system that functions on arguing? I mean, people are going to be disrespectful. Even good people, gentlemen, are going to be very disrespectful in an argument every now and then.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
So how do you build a system on politics? You can't function in a system on politics in a country if that's your only value.
I really think Jesus said it. He said, "Love your neighbor as yourself."
Right.
And part of that is whether they're right or wrong is not what's important. Is whether or not you love them.
Yes.
Because if you love somebody, you're going to know you're going to listen to them. You're going to understand them and who they are. You can't love somebody when you don't know. You might as well love a rock.
Yep.
You know. To love somebody means to know them in some way.
Well, yeah, and a lot of the issues is people are looking at the arguments themselves and they're not ever getting to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
And love is the only thing that allows you to get to the heart of the matter. Because here's the reality. I saw this post one time. Somebody posted, it's a great quote. And it didn't say a person's name, so I'm guessing somebody just came up with it from the top of their head.
Anonymous.
Yeah, just anonymous. It was people won't care about what you think or people won't care about what you know unless they know that you care, which is true. But I would also say that there's that's good, but there also should be another perspective there, and that's that you should just care. And I think because motivation has something to do with it too, because if all you're doing is trying to care just because you want to tell them something, I mean, that's good, but you should care just because God commanded you to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that has a different heart in it. That has a different heart in it because our God's love is unconditional. So whenever you love in order to tell somebody something, that's not really unconditional love.
Yeah.
Unconditional love is going in there and saying, I love you because you are you. You're created in the image.
Valued by God.
You're valued by God, exactly. And then that allows you to, it does allow you to open up and talk about how what you do does not give you value, because if what you do gives you value, then none of us are in a good spot right now.
That's why we really need to be able to promote the courage in people that when you have come together for a cause with other people, we have to recognize when something's going too far. And sometimes it's not the cause itself, but it's like I said, when you're in that narrow perspective and people are using ridicule and humiliation and threat of retaliation or some consequence,
Yeah.
not to keep you from,
Jessica Thomas.
and they're not using it to keep you working for the cause, but they're using it to keep you from seeing other perspectives,
Right.
and being able to bring. And that's why things fall apart too, is because once you're in that narrow corridor of perspective, and you have eliminated any other perspective by ridicule and threat, who's going to go and recruit anybody else?
That's the church.
Well, you can't recruit somebody if you don't listen to them, understand where they are,
Yep.
where they're coming from, what they are thinking, and then somehow present to them an alternative that may be better.
Right.
If you're rooted into this cause and now you've used humiliation and threat of in order to see some, you can't communicate with anybody outside of that one perspective. So then it transforms into this militant, constant threat where you don't even, where people who don't believe that will just fall into line because they don't want the threat that's been posed to them.
Yeah. And they're being posed as tolerant whenever it's really intolerance.
Well, I think, but everybody does it.
I need
It's
to
kind
put you
of
guys
a
on
human
pause for
condition.
just a second because I want to do a commercial real quick because
Yep.
it's already 8:22. I don't mean to interrupt.
That's good. It's
We
okay.
interrupt
You
this-
must interrupt. No reason to apologize.
Well, yeah, hey. I just,
So are you ready?
Yeah. Are
There
you
we
ready?
are.
I'm ready. Sort
You're
of.
on.
Am I ready? I'm ready. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let me fix this here. There we go. All right. So welcome to the party. We're glad to have you guys on board with us today. So today's show is brought to you by naturalsolutionstore.bz. Now, you're probably wondering, what's on naturalsolutionstore.bz? Well, I'll tell you. The product that I'm talking about today is called Aronia. It's all organic Aronia. This new superfood, Aronia berries, are extremely high in antioxidants. Aronia berries also have the highest anthocyanin concentrations, or pigments. We'll just say pigments. And they're very high in proanthocyanidins. Okay, I'm having a hard time reading these really big words. In addition to many other polyphenols. Further, they are also good sources of many antioxidant vitamins like vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E, and beta-carotene, and folate, and minerals like potassium, iron, and manganese. I guess that would be magnesium. 100 grams provide about 35% of the daily recommended levels of vitamin C. Further, there are also good sources of many antioxidant vitamins like C, A, E. I already said all that. But anyways, this stuff is really good. If you have problems with diabetes, if you're taking something like metformin, things like that, you can take Aronia, and this will help. Talk to your doctor and see if maybe you're at a level where you can just switch to Aronia altogether. But don't do that, of course, without talking to your doctor first. So if you're wanting to try this stuff out, go online to www.naturalsolutionstore.bz and pick up a bottle of Aronia today. Back to you guys. Anyways, you were saying, you guys lost me like
Well, you were busy doing
20
something, clicking and scrolling and all
20
that.
minutes ago. Yeah, I'm continuing my my scan for unwanted programs on here because I noticed it's going really slow. And,
It'll do it on its
So-
own, you know.
no, apparently not because
What's happening?
so far I've got 77 unwanted programs that it's detected. So I guess Windows Defender probably isn't.
No, I mean at this moment. You
Oh,
can
it
do
is. I just keep
Right.
I keep looking to see what it's found thus far.
So my concern too is for the United States of America as a power, is that perspective, that militant, narrow perspective that we expect everybody to be a part of, and then there's some sort of threat of. In order for us as a nation to maintain the power that we have, it has to be based, like you said, on the foundations of God and Christianity, which we
Right.
were founded on.
Exactly.
And in order for us to, and I don't think maintaining power so that we can, like a warlike power,
Right.
but I mean, so we can't promote freedom and democracy and most important liberty of
Yeah.
the human individual without promoting it around the world. Or like I was talking about before, the reason we're building a wall, those walls are going to move in closer and closer and closer. And then before you know it, there's nothing but a maze of walls with everybody trying to protect their own individual. You know, the only way in order for us to maintain the power and call it safety, you know, freedom, liberty, the only way for us to maintain that is for it to spread instead of closing in. And that's the problem is politics and corporate
I see.
greed and all of that has narrowed perspectives because they can't thrive as well as they do. And thriving is thriving.
Yeah.
But thriving to a level where you amass all the value of a country or a world for yourself
I will turn that.
is, I
on.
think,
Your phone vibrating.
unethical. And I think that's part of the problem, too.
Well,
is
that's
that
not true value either, and that's not the true value
Right.
this country was founded on. The true value this
Is you.
country was founded on. The true value this country is founded on is not only us. I mean, obviously, the individual was a huge perspective for this country.
Yeah.
Though I think the family unit was even more of an inspiration for this country.
Yeah, I
But
think it's part of that, yeah.
but the responsibility that we have to God, that's what it was. I mean, John Hancock, one of the guys who, one of our founding fathers who outlined sort of the idea of our federal government, not that we see it today, not this federal government, but the original federal government that kept us free for so long and in a relatively much healthier state for so long, he said that, make no mistake, this Constitution is for a religious people. That doesn't mean they didn't believe in religious liberty. That means you have to abide by some sort of moral standard, and you do have to recognize that we were built on Judeo-Christian values, and if you don't respect those values, you don't have to follow them, but if you don't respect them and you try to destroy them, this country will crumble. And that's the state that we're finding ourselves in.
Yeah.
Because somebody had we're liberated, but it wasn't wise liberation. It was unwise liberation. They tried to destroy the very social fabric that this country was built on.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, you can look, that was actually a few different kinds of philosophies, a few different worldviews came in here. One of the strongest ones, probably because it's one of the, I would say they're one of the most popular, is the secular humanist movement happened in America. I would say this is probably one of the most powerful.
Larry Melton first says, Matthew 5:8, blessed are the pure in heart, they will see God. Steve Schultz just posted, the true values have been thrown in the trash can.
I think they have too.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much going on here with psychology that is that's being used to invade every space that we inhabit. I understand these systems that we have are really advantageous. They allow us to do things so quickly and so easily and confidentially,
Yep.
except that the platforms and the systems have been designed in a way that the owner or the writer of the material is so able to, in order to agree to use it, you have to give them the right to use you, basically. And I don't agree with that. I don't think that's right. I think they've become so integrated into our normal life and so necessary. Like we were talking about, you have to, in order to fill out an application, you have to go online now. You
Yeah.
know, and so I think there ought to be a utility space.
Explain
that
this
you-
idea.
A utility space online would be a space online where, okay, so for instance, suppose I'm interested in going camping, but I've never been camping before. Camping can be dangerous. You're going to go out into the wilderness, right? But you want the information about how to do this and do it well.
With the
Yeah.
armadillos that chase
And
you
to
at
be
night.
right, because the armadillos will try to take your flashlight, and then what do, right? Right?
They're
Yeah.
armored. You
Right.
can't get in there.
Well, but what happens is somebody says, you know what? We've got these wet noodles, and these wet noodles are the best defense against armadillos trying to take your flashlight. You whip this thing with this wet noodle, and it is going to turn that thing back on its heels, and it's going to run away from you. These wet noodles are the best wet noodles that you have ever seen or used, and
Get your wet noodles at
once
natural
the
sources.
armadillo,
Just
once
kidding.
the armadillo has fled, because you have this mighty wet noodle,
Yeah.
and it has gone back into recessed back into the wilderness away from you. If you're hungry, you can eat it too. And there is no
the
other wet
noodle or
noodle.
the armadillo?
There is no other wet noodle that can match this, right?
Yeah.
This is
So-
a theoretical thing, just so you
I'm
guys
just
know.
going absolutely ridiculous
Go
to
ahead.
point out the absurdity of it, right? Well, here's the thing: is now you've got all these advertisers who are saying that their product is the best, right? But you're really just trying to learn what it is you need to survive in this space, or to adopt this lifestyle, or to do this thing. You're really there to research and learn something.
Yep.
You're not there to buy something.
So what
you're
you're
there to
saying is-
learn about it so that you might know better what you would buy, so that it would suit what you're really trying to do.
So what you're saying is if you're going camping, you need to get a wet noodle.
Right. Yes,
I'm just-
exactly.
I'm
Absolutely.
sorry.
If you want to survive.
Yeah. Everybody needs a wet noodle to survive. You guys
So-
continue talking. I'm going to prepare this spot over here for Steve. He is on his way up. He will be here shortly.
What is? Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go
You
ahead.
see what I mean? So
Yeah, I
so
was gonna say, what is your particular point that you're trying to make in this case?
my point is, there should be a space online where you're learning about something, and your interest in something should not be subject to who thinks whatever you need. So in other words, I ought to be able to go on there and look at the material and read the material and watch the videos that are produced by people who are doing this thing that I am interested in doing, and listen to what they say.
Yeah.
And then when I have come to a conclusion about what I might want to do in this way,
Yeah.
then I can go on to a commercial site where something is for sale and find the products that suit me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you know what? When I'm out in the wilderness, I don't need a wet noodle. If an armadillo is coming after my flashlight, I don't need a wet noodle, right? So I don't. When I'm trying to figure out what I need in that circumstance, I don't need an advertisement for a wet noodle that's telling me this wet noodle is really what I need when an armadillo is trying to take my flashlight. You see what I mean? So, but that's what I'm saying is these things have become so integrated into every piece of information that we get
Yeah.
that it's very difficult to get an accurate idea and learn something about what interests you.
Yeah. Well.
But if something really does interest you and you know enough about it to go ahead and try and venture out there into the world and try something, then, of course, you are going to need
Hi,
these
Steve.
things that you learned
Hi
you
there.
need.
Yeah.
Then you can go onto the commercial space.
As opposed to
Look
an
at
advertising.
everybody's knife, everybody's flashlight, look at everybody's wet noodle, and decide which wet noodle is best for you.
Got to find a
Yeah.
different thing to use as an example.
Why?
It's funny. Look
Yeah.
at everybody's wet noodle. That just
But
sounded
really,
weird to
but
me.
that's what I'm saying, though, is
I'm
you
hit
end
with
up
one.
you end up with somebody saying this is the best of the best of the best of the best, and it's the cheapest of the cheapest of the cheapest of the
You mean-
cheapest, and it's not even true.
Right. But
But you have no
Here he is,
knowledge
Kara.
about the product and no way of determining that.
yeah, I think we disagree on this issue.
Well, you guys, are you talking about the same issue
now,
that we were talking about this
we
morning?
do have a
before?
Well, good luck
commonality.
out there in the wilderness with your wet noodle.
We have a
because
common.
you're going to discover in your
Hold
life
on.
as you
When an
become an
armadillo
adult that
chases
wet
you down.
noodle doesn't do anything.
What a way to walk.
We
into
do have a
this.
common agreement though, and that's about companies selling our data, and that's about companies collecting our data without our consent, which should be illegal. But I think you and I disagree on the advertising
Jay,
situation.
you need to stop drinking that coffee, Larry says.
And I'm making fun of this situation, but I'm saying there should be a space where we could do research. There should
Move
be
to
a
Jay
space
a
where
little,
we
Steve.
there should be a space where we can do
There you go.
we can learn about things and learn accurately about the things that we
Yes.
want to know about, that we might even have a talent or a skill in that could change the world.
We may not get a chance really to talk
Right.
here today, Steve.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I
And
figured that out.
I would
Because
say the
oftentimes
whole
a small thing changes the world.
I probably said like just a few sentences since the show started.
Good morning, Jay.
But we should know the space that
See,
we're-
he didn't even say good morning back. What's
hi,
up?
hi, Steve.
good morning, Steve.
There
Good morning,
should be,
Tanner.
we should know the space we're entering is what I'm saying. We should know the space we're
Tense.
entering. We should know that when we're doing research to learn about something, we're on a place that we're going to get the
I
information
wish
we
we
need
knew
to
sign
learn.
language, Steve.
We should know that when we're going
So
on
we could have a
going
good
on in a space online, because these systems are so integrated into our lives that we can't really not do it that way anymore. Some things you can't fill out an application unless you go online.
Yeah.
There should be utility spaces, spaces that you know that you're going there to use it to perform your normal life.
It's funny. You go into somewhere and say, "Hey, can I get an application?" They hand you a little piece of paper that big. It's like, there you go. It's like, wait.
Or you go online now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It gives you a website to go to.
You know what? A lot of places, at least up in the city, up in KC area, they're actually doing a lot more paper applications.
Yeah.
Than what
Really?
you would
I know
expect.
my workplace does paper applications.
But you said yeah immediately
Few
when
and
I
far
talked about
between.
a certain thing. And here's what I'm saying. If I took, okay, so my system is set up according to me, right? But if
Yeah.
I started trying to use an adolescent's computer to do my stuff, I'm going to see a bunch of sexuality-based advertising and all kinds of weird stuff that I could clearly see pretty quickly is not my computer,
Yeah.
right? It's not being used for my purposes.
Larry, good point.
So you got this teenager who's just starting a life, and he's wanting to do something online, set up his utilities,
Yep.
and set up his life in a way that he can manage it responsibly. And all he's seeing is this burger joint with this sexy half-naked woman, and now instead of paying his bills, he's out eating these burgers. And that really does happen.
Well,
These are psychologically triggering, chemical triggering ads that they're putting
See,
out
now
there.
I want a
Okay.
hamburger.
Here's the thing about that, though, is I think that can be handled as a different issue. The sexualizing of advertising is a different issue.
Yeah, but for
in
me,
my
it's not a
eyes.
sexualizing thing. It's not a sexualized based. It's your
Advertising.
interests that they gather the information about your interests, and
Right.
then they use that information to just to draw
agree
your
with-
attention.
Larry
You
says
can't
keep your
even
noodles
get on a
dry
place-
and your flashlight in your pocket.
You can't even get on a place online to do
Way to go, Larry.
a specific task that you have to do without being bombarded with
Morning, Kevin Saxton. How you doing, buddy?
advertisement that guides you away from the very utility you're there to do.
Right. On the other hand,
Playing your
though,
song.
you're the one who decides to click on the ad.
Well,
So
not
there's a
really. Not really,
responsibility-
because there's sometimes
Not
you
'cause
go to
they're using chemistry.
you go to click the little X, and all of a sudden the ad jumps up, and you end up clicking on the content itself.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
is
that's
not
an
accidental.
accident.
No, that
No,
is not an accident. I promise you. It happens
was
to
thinking
almost
it
every
was.
single ad. No, it is not.
Well, that should be illegal then.
That's
I
the
agree
kind
with
of
that.
stuff.
I don't
It
think
is
that
so
is.
subtle
It's too
that
consistent.
yeah, it is so subtle. Then there's no proof that it's not an accident. Oh,
And
it's
then the
just
type
a glitch.
of ad that comes up is also pretty obvious that they
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're not.
I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that and keep.
Whenever I talked about buying a Gretsch guitar, I just talked about it.
Yeah.
I didn't look it up yet. The next day, I got up and I'm surfing through Facebook, and all of a sudden, there's Gretsch guitars on the advertisement.
And that should be illegal.
Yeah,
that should
now
be
I see what
illegal.
you're saying.
I agree.
That
we
is
And I
agree.
not
showed
an
you what
accident.
happened whenever I logged into to Google. Google didn't even come up. It came up as just news, and then these ads that popped up.
Well, and you say yes, I accept these conditions. So you're accepting the conditions to use that, right? And you're
Yes.
accepting, and
Right.
they tell you in the
they're gonna be
50
at.
page of fine print, they
Yes.
tell
Sometimes
you
it's
they're
more
going
than
to do this to you. So, and you
100
accept that.
pages.
And if you're irresponsible enough to scroll through it like the rest of us and just say, I accept because you
Yeah.
want to use the site, you are saying, I'm willing to subject myself to this, right?
Yeah.
And hey, that's fair game, right?
I mean, you just
the problem
signed a
is
legality.
when you say no, 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 no.
Hey, Joni.
Because
Sorry about that. She says, good
even
morning.
if you
First time
read-
watching, confused with an exclamation point.
the problem is if you say
I
no,
hear you. It's okay.
even if you read the 50
I was
pages,
confused when I first got here.
half the
They've been
words
having
in
this
there you wouldn't
conversation
even
since an
understand.
hour before the show. So.
And all the statements in those 50
We,
It
pages
just
of,
carried
of
on over the onto the air.
All right, we're gonna have to put a pin in this conversation. No, I'm gonna put a pin in this conversation because we got first-time watchers and they're really confused.
Okay.
we can continue this conversation after the show. Today of course, it's Friday. It's
Yay.
yeah, we got New Year's Eve coming up. You have big plans for New Year's Eve? Sorry, I didn't mean to stop y'all's conversation, but
yeah, you did.
Sort of.
yeah, I did. I
Sort
did
of.
mean to.
That was a nice way of saying it.
I think we should just
Yes.
goof off for the rest of the show.
Well, I mean,
It
we
was
don't.
getting too intense.
It was getting very intense, even for me.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Jay and I are like, we're not on this intensity level yet.
Yeah, but
We
nobody
have to
else
keep
is
working.
either.
Right,
Well,
right.
everybody.
Because everybody else is lost.
Right. We're like, oh, what is going on here? Because it's like, are they having a fight or are they just talking?
It's all
Not
of the
interested.
above.
Yeah.
So-
It's all of the above.
Yeah.
But it's a friendly fight.
But I love you guys. But whenever we have a first-time watcher that says first time watching, confused, we want to make sure that. I mean, we
So
got
are
a
you
little
going to
bit for
explain
everybody.
what it is about?
Am I
Explain
gonna?
what we were talking about.
I'm confused too. I don't even know what
I
exactly
walked
the
into
topic
this
of
and-
conversation is. Really, honestly, I don't know what the actual point of the conversation
And Kara, I'm
So-
glad that you were concerned.
is. And that's who?
Kara McIntyre, you said that here I am. So
No.
apparent-
Oh, yeah. She asked, "Where's Steve?" But that was Joni. Welcome to the party, Joni. It's
Joni, welcome to the party.
sometimes we have pretty intense conversations here
Yes.
on the show.
Yeah.
And sometimes they go from start to finish.
and carries over
The conversation.
off the air.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, I'm good. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that are in agreement if they've been following the conversation.
I'm
But-
not exactly sure how we actually started specifically, but what it's about is how our lives are so integrated with technology that, and then the commercialism of it and all that stuff, you can't. So we use
We
these
get sucked in.
technologies for our utility. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a utility, so we do all of our work and business and all that stuff on it, and then
We're bombarded with advertisements.
Advertising.
right, and not just advertising, but
Right.
but
Tailored advertising.
tailored advertising
Which
that's
should be
designed
illegal.
to stimulate such powerful chemical reactions in your brain, and you can't so resist temptation, it will flee from you, right? But when you're on there to use this stuff to do your business, you don't have a choice about that space,
Right.
and I think you should have a choice.
Right.
So
I
in other
agree.
words, I shouldn't see advertising unless I'm looking to buy the stuff that I'm interested in buying.
So I'm going to ask you guys, what scripture are you guys reading today? Because we read Psalm 103. Did you hear that? Whenever we read
I was
Psalm
I was on the road.
Bless the Lord, O my soul. Let me see. I had it pulled up here, and I don't know what I did with it. So, sorry, I cut y'all's conversation short.
No,
That's okay.
You're okay.
It was getting pretty intense for everybody, I think. So,
I'm sweating over here.
well, I am sweating. This flannel is not cool. This flannel is very warm. I was doing the Ozark chic with the blazer over it. It's just too hot for that.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a Christmas present, isn't it?
No, I've had this shirt for like 4 years.
Oh.
I've washed it like 3 or 4 times, so it's good.
Well, that's good.
So the good thing about plaid flannel shirts is that if you spill coffee on it, people don't notice. You can't really see it. It's all right. It's okay.
Especially if you're viewing.
And we got Mr. 70s over here in this nice leather. That's a nice leather
Yeah,
coat.
that looks like an undercover or detective type of young.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, exactly from the 70s.
Yes. As a 70s.
What was it you called it?
Undercover cop.
What was it you said it looked like this morning?
It
Oh,
looks
I'm
like
sorry.
a leather jacket from the 70s.
Yeah, like what's that one with Starsky and Hutch?
Yeah, that's exactly. It's Hutch over here.
Yeah, yeah. Do it, okay? Do it.
I never had the pleasure of watching that show. I've
I'm
seen
sure
a lot
they're
of
much
old
less
TV
confused
shows.
now.
Huggy Bear.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
my Huggy
But
Bear with my man.
Don't get mad at me because I paused the conversation.
What?
Please.
No, I'm not mad.
Okay.
It's just I had a lot going on in my head about it, so now I'm
He's
really
releasing it. He's releasing
focusing
it
on
from his
flannel right now after thinking about these things.
He's trying to get his mind
sometimes,
off of it.
you know, sometimes I have to make executive decisions as to when to calm things down a bit.
Right, on
That
a
was a
talk
nice
show.
way of putting
On a
it.
talk show, yes.
Right.
Well, Steve showed up, and we were both looking at each other like,
So what do you have
Sorry.
to talk about today, Steve?
You entered into an intense conversation.
Yes.
So
I
your
did.
your
What was it?
wife, did she start a new job today, or did she just have to go to work?
She just had to work later, which is good. You know, being Christmas season, yesterday was 80% off, and
Really?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of sales going on around here.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's exciting.
a lot of.
It's time to
especially-
start getting that Christmas
And-
candy.
I love
That's.
that.
I'm
Yes.
surprised you're not
Clear-
talking about that because you're all about
clearance.
going and getting the
Clearance
peanut
big time,
butter
80%
chocolate
off on a
stuff.
lot
I'd like
of
to to
things.
simplify my life a little bit and not be getting a bunch of stuff because every time I go out and get a cart full of candy, I end up with a pocket full of lint.
See, he's not even. paying
Larry Melton
attention.
says, I'm not going camping with Jay
Why is that?
Well, I
because
guess,
of the wet noodle and the flashlight.
Right? Yeah.
well,
We'll go out to bear country.
I guess
and
you
I got
just
a
shot
whip.
yourself in the foot there.
Larry Melton says, Google it. It's
Right,
funny.
right.
I think the confusion was due to all this time we're having this serious conversation, and everybody else is just thinking about the wet noodle conversation.
Well,
Yeah.
Steve Schultz says, what I want to know is who is wrong and who is right, Jay or Tanner?
Well, that's a problem because both Jay and I will think that we're right.
You know what? You're both right in your own right.
Yes.
I think that he and I are a lot different than you guys. So you guys felt like this was an intense conversation, and though we did have emotional, but the thing is, I am listening to him, and I
Yeah.
think he is also listening to me.
That's right.
And so my
Right.
perspective is going to change some by listening to him and by understanding. And I do agree that commerce and these sites, you do say, I accept these things.
yeah.
So you're subject to whatever they put on there because
Yeah.
you've accepted that.
And the only problem with it is if
There's no space where you
if
can
you-
get away.
if you miss any part of that conversation, you're completely lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you come in the middle of that conversation, there's
I did.
no way. There's
Right,
no
but
way.
I
to
don't
figure it
think
out.
we should just goof off every show all
No,
the
I don't
time
think so,
just
no.
because we might have a complicated
No, did I? I
conversation.
didn't say that. I didn't say that. All I
Right.
said was, I could tell people were confused,
Yeah.
and we don't want to lose them just because they came in. This is a good conversation to have,
It's also very relevant,
Yeah.
especially now
But you
because
have
it's
to-
starting to bubble up and
but
heat
you
up.
have to listen from the start to the finish to
exactly.
really.
That's what I was just going to say.
Do you ever watch one of those intense movies where if you miss 5 seconds of it, you're completely lost to the
Especially
rest
the
of
I'm
the
just
first
saying
5
it's gone.
minutes.
It's gone too far.
It has, absolutely.
It
It's gone
happens.
too far
I
to
agree.
where you can't, and we are all paying for this space. Everything
Yeah.
you buy, everything you do, you're paying for the space. The utilities that you pay for, the internet that you're paying for, and they want to act like, you're using this free site, so but it's not free.
Right. The web address costs a lot of money.
We're paying
does.
for these devices, super inflated prices for these devices. We're paying super inflated prices for the access just to get on there and do it. And I can't help but when I balance the book at the end of the day, to think that there's somebody out there who knows what levels incomes are and how to get at that money. And they use such a psychological formula to do it that they're, but then, and that's my point too, is you want to resist those things. You don't want to subject yourself to spaces where you're going to be constantly tempted to do something you shouldn't do, like spend money you don't have. But then it's so integrated into our lives and even our utilities and everything we do in our actual business in life that then you can't escape it,
Yep.
right? And
Larry
how
Mountain
do
says
you if
Jay
you're
and
going to?
Tanner are outstanding in their fields.
I have no
What
field.
field?
I don't know if he was
My
meaning that
field?
as a.
The
as-
space I'm standing on is borrowed.
Yeah, aren't
right.
Aren't we all though? This is all borrowed space for the time being. We are, and this is what kind of a total change of subject. We are standing in a foreign land.
Yeah.
We
We're
are
aliens
just
and
passing
strangers.
through.
We're
Yeah.
aliens and strangers.
What we really, what I'm excited about is whenever we go to the place that Jesus has prepared for us. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I think. That's what I've been thinking of. And I was in, I don't even know. I feel bad that I cut the conversation.
Well, we had
No,
another
it's okay.
important
It's okay.
conversation about reaching people,
'Cause
about
I know-
evangelizing.
I
You
know.
do you.
I know how Jay feels. If I know how you feel if you feel like you've been censored in any way, shape, or form. You
Right,
get very
and
angry.
I will not be censored.
And this is
I will
not
be
a
at home
censorship.
before that happens.
This is not a censorship. This was just a change of
No, but
subject.
you did good. That's you.
Oh.
You do you. That's why
Anyways.
we're both here.
So
right.
and Joni Dobkins, is it pronounced Kolb? I hope I pronounced it right. She says amen. She's
Amen
our
to what?
first time listener. Well, amen to the field we're standing in right now is borrowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's borrowed.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't take that too far. I think that's misrepresented because look at Jesus stayed with people who had homes,
Yeah.
who owned property in places, and was taken care of there. And so and the apostles they did their job as apostles, but they also depended on people who were rooted and at home in
Yeah.
properties. And I think property is one of the best ways to keep a family together. When you look at the closest families who are the most integrated, and you're going to find grandma and dad and the child and the grandchildren all in the same place
Yep.
within a week's time, any week of the year. They're all families that have some connection to property.
It blows me away to think about how Jesus created everything,
Not
but when he
all,
was
but
here, he
most of them.
owned nothing.
Yeah.
He didn't own any land. He didn't, he
He really did.
and he created it all,
Right.
but he owned none of it while he was here.
Right.
Now he owns all of it. That excites me.
Right.
So this has been we're pretty much out of time now.
Boy, I came in.
You came in at what, like 31, 32, something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so, and
But
you
I
guys,
missed
and I'm sure the conversation will continue if you guys want to get more involved in the conversation.
Probably not, because today's Friday.
Well, they can text us, private message,
That's
and
true.
stuff.
We gotta
So-
have room for.
It's unfortunate. Because we'll only get one perspective at that point.
What?
No,
We gotta have
For
room
what?
They're-
for
they're
Dr.
private
Hamilton
messaging you
over
back.
here.
Oh.
make a group message
Maybe
about
you
it.
can continue it. No, I'm just kidding.
You got Marty Hamilton on deck,
It's okay.
getting
It's all right
ready
'cause it
to.
changed.
He's getting ready to do his show, The Basics of Faith. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So if you're wanting to learn some stuff about Scripture, Marty is a great teacher, and we really enjoy his 30-minute program. And then after that, it'll be Dr. Paul Collins with The Happy Hour. So Dr. Paul and his wife Nancy. And I don't know who their guests are going to be. They never tell us until they bring them here.
It's usually like a surprise.
Yeah.
But if there was any underlying takeaway we can take away from we can get from this, I would say that it's learning how to talk to people that you disagree with, and
Yeah.
and that's a principle, and that's a key principle of evangelism. Because if you want to get to somebody, you have to listen to them, and you have to be able to share your perspective in a way that they want to listen to you.
Or agree to disagree.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Now, unfortunately, people don't ever see that as an option. There's a lot of people that don't.
The option is love in that case. It's
Yeah.
love, love, love. That's always the
Regardless.
first step,
So that's a good takeaway. Thank you. It's time for us to get out of here.
unconditionally.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us on the morning drive today. We'll be back on Monday, same time, same channel. So until then, my friends, God bless you and keep you. We love you. My name is Matt,
My name is Jay.
My name is Steve.
My name is Tanner.
and this has been
The Morning Drive.
It's nothing short of.